Hey everybody, today I am going to make the video I've been meaning to make for a while. So this is going to be me doing Faceworm on Mith, a 165 genetic, job level 58. It's not really important to be that high of a level. You can do this at 150, I think. You could even do it at 140. If you had a Orc Hero card to avoid this stun from the Queen, but even that, you may not need all of that. Gear is super important for this run. You need to wear, well, you don't need to wear what I'm wearing, but you should if you're poor and you don't have god items to wear. Though, even if you do have a Bryn, I'm borrowing a Bryn, I'm not going to wear it until the Queen. And even for that part, I'll only use it for certain little time. Don't worry about that. But we'll get to that when we get there. I'm gonna get Pyro on. I have a double Kingbird eared, plus 12 with Expert Archer 9, Deviant Fallen Angel Wing, a Valk Shield, not high refined at all, just plus 4, with a Bigfoot card to avoid the 30% of insect damage. Basically anything that's gonna hurt you in here is an insect, so it works great. I do have a secondary shield, which is the little cheater shield, the GTB. I'm only going to use that for 2 parts of this, one being the Queen, so it definitely is a big helper, with my method at least. But it's not terribly important. You can get through it with just the insect shield or an Alice shield there. What is important is having a bunch of anodynes on you, and I personally like wearing the Isla-carded mid headgear because we are going to be using Cart Cannon as our main attack. I like the Palace Guard because everything here hits, well, these worms hit neutral, and you can see a huge difference in wearing it and not wearing it, so it's crazy. Alright, that's where the Isla card comes in. I have the Bear Power boots on as well, and Isla card is just doubling the speed of my Cart Cannon, so I can take out the mobs fairly quickly without a God Hammer. With a God Hammer, it's easy. You have insta-cast, and your fire expansion does more damage, so it's also a good idea to fire expansion whenever you're fighting a huge mob, whether you're Cart Cannoning it with the Isla or not. The fact that it procs the cast time reduction is just that much better. This instance, it's going to have the little announcer of how many worms are left there. You don't really have to get it to 0. You just have to get it to under 3. As soon as you hit 2 left, it'll spawn the mini boss. And there's 4 separate rounds that consist of killing a certain amount of worms plus a mini boss. Triggers them to spawn here. I don't know if I have shadow gear on. I feel like I'm hitting kind of weak right now. And if I wasn't on a Pyro gene right now, and I could switch weapons, I would be putting on a boss weapon for that. I typically use the eared with AK cards versus the Archer Skeleton cards. It's actually a pretty big difference in damage, I've found, with my setup at least. I've heard vice versa, but I don't know. I've never come into a situation where Archer Skeleton's better on an eared. I've got a couple life insurances because I am prepared to die on this run. I've tried to get it down to where I never die, and typically I can get through it without dying. But sometimes there's that off chance where the Queen goes into her crazy fire mode and hits you with Pulse Strike that does, or it's like Dark Strike or something that does just a ridiculous amount of damage. I don't think it's Dark Strike though, because pretty sure GTB defends against that, and I use that the whole time. But we'll get to that when we get there. Right now, I said before that I like the anodynes because of situations where you keep triggering these maggots to spawn, and it's not really good. You want to avoid them. You can. You walk like 6 cells away from them and they won't spawn. It's like a maze to avoid them all. But honestly, anodynes, you can still get through them, get the mob loaded up, and The more the merrier when you have the Isla-carded headgear. With Demonic Fire, you just want that constant proc, and then you have all these things hitting you, so your bear's power procs, and plus 200 strength does a ridiculous buff to fire expansion. So it's not all bad to have these little maggots following you, except they hit twice as fast and they walk twice as fast as the worms. I like to trigger that one because I always trigger that by accident when I'm going to fight the mini-boss. Alright, so my goal is to always get as many as I can into one mob. Try to get the whole room if I can, but that doesn't always work out. There we go, perfect. You can wear a GTB to avoid the water ball or whatever kind of ball it is that it's casting, but it typically triggers Bear's power at a good rate, so I just let it hit me and doesn't do too much damage. There we go. Bam. And then, yeah, every time you kill one of these mini-bosses, there's a little treasure chest that pops up. The faster you kill them, the better your reward. It tells you how fast you finish the round. 2 minutes and 3 seconds is not my fastest for round 2. But I think of all the rounds, my fastest are 3 and 4. I've done both of those in a minute and a half. Hopefully I can do that this time. Okay, this part I'm going to use the cheater shield. This is where you put on your GTB because there's these crazy bombs that pop up everywhere. You don't really need a GTB though. You could just put on some fire armor and like a fireproof backpack or something, and you'd be fine to just stand in the middle of these and get blown up. But they do really throw you off because they have knockback, so I like to wear the GTB just to avoid the knockback so I can lure the room faster. If you have it, use it, but just bring another Orleans gown, a Fire Orleans, for when you fight the boss here, and for when you're walking through that first maze part. Not really a maze, it's more of a path. And there's like a certain pattern you want to follow to get everything into one mob. Hopefully we can get the whole room, but sometimes you get stuck. If you have an Edgar card, this is like a walk in the park, I bet. See, and then you can leave some behind by accident, and stuff doesn't work out, and you don't switch back to your Bigfoot shield in time. Emergency Yig berries for situations like that. I would usually use seeds, but there's been like none on the market lately. Oh, I have to repyro. Oh, so we needed 2 more in there and it would have been perfect. Just to keep the time down, I usually just bomb the spares that I have to find. Kind of a good idea of where that one's going to be. It's probably over to the left. I didn't walk over there right away. There it is. There she is. And the boss, where you should definitely wear the fire armor for, because he doesn't cast poison stuff anymore. If you don't wear poison for the regular mobs, you're dead in 2 seconds. So you have to wear poison for the regular ones. But for this boss, you want to wear fire because these bombs do more damage than any type of poison attack that he has. But GTB, just completely avoid it. It just cuts your time down more. The only problem with him is the knockback from those bombs, but it's not bad. You can do it on GX. I use a double dagger GX for that one too, and just fire armor, and it's totally fine. If you did have your GTB on here, make sure to switch back, because this room GTB offers no security from. This is the poison room. These poison clouds are horrible. They do tons of neutral damage at like 193 attack speed constantly if you step into them. The only way to avoid it is to flee it, I've found, because GX you can just walk right through it if you have high flee, high IG. But genetic gets destroyed. If you get stuck in there, you're stuck in like a hit lock, and the only way out of it is to anodyne out of it, which is why they're so important here. Not just for luring these mobs, but also for getting stuck in that. And this is the mini boss uses a giant poison cloud, which all the mini bosses like contain pieces of what the queen can do. So each of their strengths the queen has. And one thing I did not mention, you can Spellbreaker the queen to death. You'll see that when we get there. But you can also do the mini bosses I found out the other day. But it's not really worth it because it's only like 100k damage instead of 1,000,000 damage like it is to the queen. Again, 2 more. That stinks. One thing though that's not too bad about the poison clouds is that they trigger Bear's power, so this MVP, I'll stand in his first poison cloud, or not MVP, mini boss. You stand in his poison cloud and his first one doesn't hit that much, but it hits enough to trigger Bear's power easily. But then the second one that he'll lay over top of it is what gets you, so you need to kill him before then, or you need to be moving. You can move him out of the poison cloud, because while he's in the poison cloud, he's going to heal for like 2,000 health a second. And what I did now is I put on my boss eared, the AK one, just because we have this little mini, and then it's queen. So, see him healing for the 2,000 a second. And you can see how like big the difference in damage is between the well, it's not just the cards. The ear that I'm using that's a boss one is 2 AKs with Expert Archer 5 and 6, and it's also plus 13. My main one for the mobs is Archer Skeletons plus 12 and Expert Archer 4 and 5. So it's got 4% less range damage just from that. Okay. So for this part, you want to go ahead and put on your offensive gear, Brynhild. You need to put on, I'm putting on a keel so that I have faster bomb. The GTB shield because it changes all these different forms, and you need to defend against all different types of magic, and also Earthquake from the Queen. But you also need to have 3 different elemental armors for each elemental version that she goes into. I have a earth armor, wind armor, and water armor. Both the wind and water are unfrozen, just in case she does go into the water mode and tries to freeze you. Oh yes, the Silversmith bracelet is the most important thing about this. That allows you to use Spellbreaker, and you need that for when you need to do some quick extra damage. You don't absolutely need it, but it definitely helps. I want to pop Dex food, Vit food, Int food. I have my plants down so that when she spawns these eggs, they automatically go to attack them and try to break them. You want to Spellbreaker the eggs too, because I can't see it because of my plants. And if you Spellbreaker her, it not only does damage, but it'll heal you for a percentage of what you've done damage to her for. And since you're doing 1,000,000 damage, you basically full heal yourself every time. So you make the quick swap to the different types of armors when she goes into the different forms. And now I'm in water armor, so even though I have Deviant on, we're fine. And if you bring her down here, it's an okay idea, I guess. I do it because it forces her to become the regular form again, so she won't be all elementally and mean. But she'll stay in this fire mode until she turns back into her regular mode once you have her lured away from the nest. My stupid Oh, there you go. This guy will pop up too, and you can just jump over to him. As long as the queen is near him, he'll do a certain amount of damage, between like 200,000 and even like almost 2 million. The goal is to not use your berries to heal. You want to try to get her into the Earthquake cast bar, and then Spellbreaker to heal yourself. But that's not always possible. So if you can't Spellbreaker, just pop the Yig after to heal yourself and make sure you stay alive. Come on. She's just more annoying in the elemental form. Okay, and this is when things get crazy. She's casting the full screen poison, so you need to anodyne out of that. It's not full screen, but it's like 11 by 11 or something ridiculous. Jump over to Chaos and deal some damage. She's back into this form, so there, we Spellbreakered. We hit her that time. Ah, I died. Repop the Takoyaki. Ah, her physical attacks in the Queen form or in the Fire form are insane. So just keep it moving. Get these eggs. Eggs are like the worst thing ever. You just need to get rid of them fast as possible. Because they spawn maggots, and maggots ruin your day, especially with the GTB shield on, because you don't have anything reducing their attacks. Oh, and I ran out of potions, so I gotta get some stuff out of my cart real quick. I was wondering about that. It's like the only thing I've been using to heal myself is Yigs. What the hell? Alright, Earth Armor. She's in the Earth form. Get the Homunculus out here, and hopefully be able to get her with Ash or something. Since those eggs are up there in the corner, I'm gonna leave them. Because I don't feel like those bugs are gonna see me. She's gonna be getting close to death right now, so I'm gonna pop a gum. It's definitely not the fastest kill I've done, and there's times where you can do damage fast enough to where she's only casting that poison phase for a short amount of time and you don't get stuck in a couple clouds like I did. I'm not sure why. He keeps coming into Earth form. There we go. She's dead. Dropped a horn and a great nature. Nothing great. No great MVP item. Not the greatest time, but let's see what we got for snake skins. A portal will appear here where you can jump back out to the main waiting room that you were in, the dimensional elevator looking room. Looks like you're in an elevator in space or something. We'll wait for that to appear. But ideally you want to get an MVP item of a MCA, Mystical Card Album, and a drop of a Faceworm Queen Leg. But it doesn't always happen. It's not always perfect. There are going to be times when you do die, but what can you do? Check out what Faceworm skins you got. The faster you do it, the better the enchant. This one wasn't that fast, so I got a plus 10 one, so it was kind of fast, but I didn't get a third enchant on it, so that's not great. And then I get a crappy plus 5 one, and let's see. Ooh, a plus 2 one, special luck, luck 1, agi 4, plus 5 one. And see, I don't complain about the plus 5s and 6s because I just upgrade them to plus 8 and then turn them into E gear. And it's a shame that I got a plus 10 one because that's too high to go into E gear, but strangely enough, it'll be able to resell even with 2 enchants for probably 20 mil. People seem to like having plus 10 gears even though they're not very good. And that's fine by me. So that definitely paid for the supplies used. If you get an MCA, it's way better. Typically my runs are around 15 minutes and the queen kill is much faster and not as sloppy. As I said before, If you can hit more Spellbreakers, the faster you run her down damage-wise when she's between the Fire form and Poison form, the more damage you do while she's like casting the little fire green things is to cut down the time that she'll be in the Poison form. So if you can hit her for a good 10 million damage while she's in the Fire form, not like the red Fire form, but when she's spawning the fire things, it'll cut down the time that she'll be in poison mode. Sometimes you can even get it to where she won't poison at all, but it's all about speed of doing damage. So an additional Keel card would help, as well as having something like Meshing Shards for the extra bomb damage. But you don't need that to finish, obviously. The only thing that's super expensive that I relied on is the GTB, but it's either level 1 or 2 Earthquake that she casts, so you just have to stand like 6 cells away from her, and it won't hit you at all, so you can just Spellbreak. You can still hit her with Spellbreaker from the safe zone, so you don't entirely have to wear a GTV. I just do it because it's convenient. You can think about other things instead of having to worry about, am I far enough back from the Earthquake, or is she going to go into Water mode and Storm Gust me and knock me back everywhere? And Storm Gust with knockback and the Poison Cloud can be just a deadly combination. You can get stuck really hard in the Poison Cloud, so bring a couple tokens, bring a ton of Anodynes, lots of potions, and around 200 Iron Cannonballs. I usually bring 300 bombs, but you don't use that many. We use not even 200. So, hope you guys enjoy. Give it a shot. Post your video of it. I'll try to do a better video, but it's probably going to be a replay, and then I'll post it just as a look. I can do better than this, but this is a good guide to go through and see that not everything's always perfect, and it's pretty tough. So enjoy, and thanks for watching.